right, well, as you can hear, I am actually recovering from a cold which struck me 2 days ago. And I said, Soul, I'm not doing this for my ego. I'm not doing this for anyone else but for service. So give me my voice back. And here I actually can speak to you. Yesterday morning, I did not have a voice at all. So we're doing very well right now. And I just want to say, first of all, that what I'm talking about comes from my heart. It takes a lot of mental things, but you also have to feel it in your heart. And so this, for me, is so important. I'm so privileged to be here with you today and to be able to share something that means so much to me. And I hope that you will also find it very meaningful, not just for your mind, but also for your heart. So Theotokos, our planet, the feminine humanity. This talk today is very much about life, being full of life. And the story of life is the story of finding home. And philosophy and the sciences and religion, they all are always asking us and getting us to think about, where is my ultimate place? Where is my niche? Who am I? What is my purpose? Where do I belong? So if you want to find out where you belong, what your purpose is, you need to also look at the broad picture. If we're finite, we also need to see ourselves in context of the infinite. So one of the important things with this is that we also need to understand ourselves as humanity in context of the whole cycle of what the cosmic story is. There was the Big Bang, and then there was the flaring forth, and there was the stars evolving, the cosmos. But where do we fit in that? We know we're on a planet. We know we're in incarnation right now. But what does that even mean for us? We have a lot of different ways that we try and answer those questions. Empirical science gives us one side of the story. Also, the spiritual and philosophical traditions give us other facets. But truth is such an infinite thing. We can never really know all of it because it's still being fabricated. The truth is still being made as we live and breathe right now. So Theosophy's motto, there is no religion higher than truth, I think that sums it up, because we know that there is always some truth, something that's evolving and coming out. And if we keep the truth as our aim, then it doesn't matter what evolves from that, we will be still following it. So I just wanted to start with this. It's a little diagram I did. So let's see, is this laser? Okay. So let's start in the middle here. This shows how people and the cosmos and everything are constantly moving in this cycle of involution and evolution. So if we have the middle, this is like the old height of development, which is built on the earlier height of development. And we have these crisis points. And as you evolve down to where you worked before, where the last layer was, you have to evolve back to where you were at your peak and then push past that. And it's by the force of coming down that propels you up above into new regions where you've never been before. And the amazing thing with this is that this is what our cosmos is doing right now. And if you think of the electromagnetic spectrum, that's what the wave of magnetism and electricity is also forming, this exact pattern. So we'll keep this in mind with the cyclic involution and evolution that happens when we talk about the occult trinity. Now, I don't know, can people see that well enough back there? Okay. So we have Aleia, which is the indissoluble one. So this is like spirit, the source, the beginning, the primal force of everything, the first logos. And for us, it relates to the monad. And then we have Mahat, the great one. And she was the first emanation of Aleia. And she's like nature, but the mind of nature as well. And in particular, what's amazing to think about is how she's not just Sophia or wisdom, but she is the circle of life. And our consciousness, our development, everything that we are is experienced in her body. So this isn't just some, ethereal thing. This is a very real, your substance. Every single aspect from your base chakra up to your monad is in her. Whoop, go back. Then we have Mahat, which is the vital force. I like to think of it as lightning, but it's the active potency of nature, cosmic electricity. You could even think of it as eros, as passion. You have Aleya, the father, and Mahat, the mother, and they're at two polarities. And the love between each of them is the Mahat that is drawing them together through involution and evolution back and forth. And that love story is why we are here. We are the product of that love story. It is Mahat and Mahat who are the ones that involve and evolve. And Aleya, as the source, the ground of being, is what remains there and provides the anchor. So today I'm going to be focusing on Mahat because I'm talking about the feminine. I'm talking about our planet and our purpose. And since we are situated in her being, it's important for us then to understand more about her. She is the world mother. And I love this image by Warwick, who was another esoteric writer. So she's the mother of the world. And by world, I don't just mean this planet. I mean the world of the cosmos, the world of form. She is the divine consort of spirit of Aleya. Her archetypes are everywhere. Every woman in this room is an archetype of her, but even the men too, because we're all part of her. We all represent her creation, her thoughts, her ideas. We have the different cults and tribal goddesses like Isis and Ishtar and Nana. Think of Isis and the stories that they had of Osiris and Isis and all of that. It is her mind, her consciousness, which has evolved the forms, the patterns, the archetypes of creation. One of the important things with this is that, we have the different 7 planes. And you have the mental plane, the astral, and the etheric. Well, it's on the mental plane that a lot of these archetypes and blueprints are found. And then as they filter down through the devas and elementals, they start to take on substance and sheaths. And then here we are today in a physical form. So every pattern, everything in nature comes from this level, comes from her mind, her ideas. There is nothing new under the cosmos, under the sky, as Ecclesiastes says. So nature is not just Earth, but the entire cosmos. She is the cosmic mother. And not only is she the cosmic mother, but because our planet is part of the cosmos, that means that she is also the Earth Mother. She is Gaia. So what about this term, Theotokos? It comes from the Greek and applied to the Virgin Mary. And it means God-bearer. The interesting thing about Theotokos, of course, Theo is God. Tokos or Okos is actually the physical bearer of God. So it's not just someone who carries it, but it's like giving birth to God. And of course, matter is mater, mother. So we already see that matter is connected to Mary. I'm going to have some water too. So Mary is an archetype of Mahat, or matter. And just as Mary was impregnated by the Holy Spirit and gave birth to Christ, so too Mahat. She has to develop back into manas, back into mind, to be impregnated by Aleya the Father. And from there, the whole womb of creation has that spark, that willpower and invincibility, which is what helps evolution carry on. The result is Christ. Now, I know we all have many different ideas about Christ, and it's an amazing depth of meaning and being that is in Christ. But for me, I want to focus on the life aspect of Christ. Christ as life everlasting. Christ as what the Bible says, the more abundant life. What does that mean? We'll talk about that soon. More importantly, Christ is Emmanuel. That is God with us. But not just God with us, God in us, God as us. We are God. As Theotokos, Mahat is giving birth constantly to the cosmos. And it's not an easy thing. You know, women, when they give birth, it's painful. There's a lot of suffering involved. Well, the world of form is a place of pain and suffering. That is part of giving birth. She is perfecting the forms. She is refining them. So in the past with evolution, you know, we talk about human evolution. We have these very large, gross, unrefined forms. And as things evolve, they get more refined, more narrowed down, or more perfected. That's what's constantly happening with everything. Every thought that you have is part of that. Every emotion you feel, everything that happens with your body is constantly this process of refinement. And the greatest pain, the reason why it's so much suffering, is because of the density at which we're at. So if you think about the plane that we're on, this physical plane, and of course we also are on different levels on this planet, but in the solar system, we're on the physical level. And then not only that, but our solar system is on the galactic physical plane. And our galaxy is on the physical plane of the cosmos. So we are on the physical of the physical, folks. We are in the densest of the dense. And if you think about collisions, a planet is dense, it collides. There's a lot of destruction. There's a lot of pain that comes from that, so to speak. Whereas when you have something that's not dense, like a galaxy, I have to show you this when I say it. Okay. When galaxies collide, you have the planets and the stars and things. They just come together. Did you know that almost never any planets or any suns ever collide when galaxies come together? It's because they're so spread out. So they come together and they marry and merge, and there's no nuclear fission or fusion or anything like that going on. It just comes together. The same thing happens with us as personalities. Our planets, so to speak. They come together. That's why you see these people in groups fighting. And you see all this pain and stuff going on. It's because their personalities are hitting each other. They're bumping into each other. If we meet each other as souls, as sons, we find that this dance of fusion and fission comes together. And this might take a while of evolution, if one day we can meet each other as monads, as black holes, so to speak, then it will be oneness. It's instant. There isn't that suffering, so to speak. But Mahat is not just a mother. She's also the lover. And I love the fact that you have with the Virgin Mary, you also have Mary Magdalene. What a perfect symbol. As Mary Magdalene, the archetype, she was the disciple who was beloved, who, when Christ died, before he died, she knew what was happening. She was aware, and she bathed his feet with her tears. And then when he rose again, she was the first one to see him come back. She was there at the resurrection and the glorification of his body. At the same time, when he went up to be with the Father, Mary stayed behind. Like Mahat, she stays behind to carry on the work. That's what we are here to do. We have come down into incarnation to carry on the work of our Father, of our beloved as well, of Alea. And for me, I interpret that great work as the sacredization of matter and the materialization of spirit. So remember, it's the two polarities again. You have, spirit wanting to come down into incarnation and express itself, and matter constantly wanting to come up and reunite with spirit. That is what all of this is about. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. Good. So, Mahat's great work of refining the forms is like gravity or magnetism. You can feel it happening. That's why we have things like the electromagnetic spectrum. That's why we have gravity. These are all of the forms, the processes, and I like to think of it as like shapes. Let's get basic. Imagine a circle or a square or something like that. Well, Mahat has a shape, and at the beginning of time, it's a very rough shape. It's not very refined. And she's always trying to get things just a bit closer to find the perfect shape that will match her beloved, her Alea, because he wants to come down. So she has to get it just right so he can go and become one. And so that's what the refinement process is. It's getting things just right so that way that oneness, that union can happen. In essence then, this attraction, the electricity between them as they are trying to come together is Fohat. It's what infuses each of us with energy and the life to carry on and to be connected to spirit. If we didn't have that charge of electricity, we wouldn't be inspired. We wouldn't feel the love. We wouldn't want to carry on. That's what links us, that keeps us attached to where we're going, instead of drifting off and being disconnected from our higher self. Like I said before, it is the greatest love story imaginable. You know, Tristan and Isolde, I can't even think of any other, Guinevere and Arthur, none of those stories match or compare to the whole love story of a cosmos yearning for itself and coming into creation with itself. That is cosmogenesis. And it is also the same love story which will end everything. You know, we have the black hole, which will suck everything together, and the white hole, where everything will explode forth with a big bang. So their love for each other is why incarnation occurs. And actually, bringing it down to a personal level, that's why you're here too. You as a monad, as a spark of spirit, you have come down. You are attracted down into incarnation. You are looking for that perfect shape. And that shape is you as a personality, you as a body, you as matter. And you have that link, that thread. And we talk about the Sutratma, which is the life thread. And it starts in the heart. This life thread is in your heart, and it connects from your heart chakra just directly up to the monad. You have a link with God in your heart. And that is where you feel, that's why you're moved. When you feel the spirit move in, say, a religious situation, you are being moved by God, by the very essence of the cosmos. And beyond all of this, the most important thing that you could get from this kind of story is that the infinite wants to be personal, and the personal wants to be infinite. So that means that the spirit wants to come down into you, to be you. No one else, well, there's everyone else, but you are here because that is why you have emerged, because spirit wants you as you are. And it's hard to accept sometimes, but we'll get there. So we've talked about kind of the cosmological aspect of Mahat. What about the ecological, the planetary? On our planet, Mahat is working to evolve the 7 kingdoms of nature. And of course, as I said, she's constantly refining the forms of nature. And as it comes down through the elementals and devas, this substance of our being, it's then evolving. And so it's like not just Earth's evolution with, there's so many amazing documentaries and things that are out right now about Earth's evolution. And of course we have our own understanding as Theosophists. But as a planet and as a species, you can still see that either way, you have these old forms and they're constantly being brought into something new. But on our planet in particular, we have these great big cataclysms, which are what help evolution form. I mean, there's the dinosaurs, and there was the asteroid, or whatever it was that happened. It takes a lot of energy to split apart the old forms because they're crystallized. At this density, they become hardened. And so spirit and Fohat have to slice through them and break them in order for something new to emerge from them. As the fourth planet, we are known as the planet of suffering, not only because we are at this physical level, but also because we've inherited karma from the lunar chain as well. So there's more stuff going on with that. And talk to Eric if you want to know more about that. Because right now, people talk about the ecological crises that we're going through. And it is worrisome because we're at a new stage where we have choices to make. Humanity, we have self-awareness, so we have an element of making our own choices, which will affect the web of life, yes. But it's not something to be fearful about, because at the same time, just as individuals go through evolution, go through discipleship and initiation, so too planets and solar systems and galaxies and the cosmos are all going through discipleship and initiations. So initiations I think of as like crisis points, and that's what we're going through right now. Our planet, our planetary logos, according to the Tibetan, is about to take the second initiation, which is to do with the astral body. So if you think of the Second World War, awful. But they talk about that it happened mostly on the astral plane. It was recapitulating what happened in Atlantis. And we were having to redo all of that astral war and all of the awful, heavy forms of humanity that we had to say, no, we're going to choose a higher path. We're going to be, evolving into beings of love, not lust, beings of compassion or light or whatever it is that we are here to evolve. So that's happening on the astral plane. And that's what's going on in our planet right now. That's why we have things like fundamentalists that I grew up with, because they're fighting about whose idea is better, whose form is better. This is the process of Mahat refining the forms. At the same time, we are shifting onto the mental plane. We're trying to get our awareness as humanity up to a mental awareness rather than being in the distortion of the astral. One of the things with Mahat that I think ties in then to our planet is that if we each, say, have an inner potential, each planet as well has its inner potential. And I like to think of that as Eden. So Eden is like when heaven, spirit, comes down and marries earth or matter. And I love it because it's like this right here. You have the Star of David. So you have you have spirit coming down, the downward triangle coming down, and you have matter rising up, trying to unify with spirit. And when they meet together, when they come together, that is the sacred marriage. That is when the presence of God, Shekinah, emerges from the Holy of Holies. As Theotokos, the planet, as I've said before, is giving birth to ever more refined forms, and matter needs to become refined, become clear like glass, so that way the inner light, the hidden potential, can shine through that radiance that we are. That is what is trying to emerge. Imagine then what it would be like when the forms of creation, the trees, the board, the walls, because everything's matter. Imagine when every particle of matter is emanating with this divinity, and it's not cloaked anymore in heavy, dense sheaths. It is able to shine. Can you imagine what a beautiful world, the colors, the lights, the sound? We don't even imagine it. But that is where we're evolving. We're becoming ever more radiant and beautiful. From a non-dual perspective, because you have kind of the duality of being in incarnation, but there's also Aleia. Everything is already as it is. We can radically awaken where we are, where you're sitting right now, in the seat. Are you present? First of all, are you here? If you're here, then you can begin to connect with the perfection of the world as it already is. You can see that the ground, the rocks, the trees, your body, everything is sacred already. And it's becoming ever more expressive of that divinity. We each have our own unique frequency, our each unique radiance that we are evolving as well. So we have radical awakening, which happens where you are now. But we also have evolutionary awakening, which is where, what I've said with Mahat, where you have to constantly be evolving the forms to have them fit, to be the right shape for spirit to come down. And in particular, it's amazing where we are right now in this pattern, because we are the only kingdom that has self-awareness. And it's when you have self-awareness that you can begin to change the forms, to evolve them consciously, rather than being victim, so to speak, to them. Like a seed already holds within it the potential for the oak tree. That's what I'm talking about with evolutionary awakening. That you already have the seed of God within you. It is your task to grow that tree, to reach up into the sky and spread your leaves. Our very bodies contain all the kingdoms. We have the 7 chakras, we have the 7 kingdoms, so to speak. And when you work with your body, when you're meditating, when you're washing dishes, when you're going to sleep, all aspects of that, you are helping evolve and carry, like Mahat, the other lower levels of evolution. So what you're doing when you interact with your cat or your dog, those are going to be the next humans. So you are like going to be their master, literally. Be like we have masters now. You're going to be their masters. So how you treat them now, will impact how their evolution is going. How you treat your body will impact literally the devas and elementals and their evolution. So now you can see the importance of right relationship, the importance of caring for all aspects of matter, because you are impacting the quality of their evolution. One of the things I love about humanity too, I don't want to cough into the mic. One of the wonderful things about humanity is that as the 4th kingdom, we're like the heart again. If you count 3 chakras up, the 4th is the heart. If you count 3 chakras down, the 4th is the heart. So the heart is the bridge. It is where the lower and the higher meet and meld and marry. And that synthesis, that marriage, that is where we can meet all aspects of creation and bring them forward. Let me just see. Okay. Mahat's great work is also personal. So, when I asked, why are you here? What is your purpose? Well, here we go. Our task as humanity for incarnation is to perfect the forms, to invoke ever greater life, ever greater development, to stretch the boundaries of consciousness. I have one, thank you. Except now you won't be able to understand me because we're talking. So, this includes your form, your life, your consciousness. And that's in your power. You are not powerless. Put that aside, because you are here to live, to be incarnated now. And as that, you have a choice of what to do moment by moment. you have the path of discipleship and initiation. You can identify with the different aspects of yourself. We talk about Olympus. Well, initiation is a climb up the mountain of Olympus, up the mount of initiation like Capricorn. I'm a Capricorn. And you have to journey back to the house. Yeah. Journey back to the house of the Father. The house of the Father is Aleia, of course, and the house of the monad. As Theotokos, we give birth to ourselves. We have this authentic, truest, deepest aspect to you and you and you and you. You each have your own individual self that is your godhead. You are a god or a goddess. You are a master already in the making. You are a Buddha or a Christ in emergence. And like that acorn, you are developing that. You are developing your godhead, your mastery, your Christness. That's why it's important to work with your body, with your emotions, with your minds. Also doing so in humility with the soul. Because of course you have to have a relationship with the soul to not, how can I say this nicely? To not be trapped and stuck by the density of where we are. So you have to raise your consciousness enough so that way when you do work with the dense parts of yourselves, you're not ensnared by them, but you can also be detached as well as attached. There's a balance. Our greatest task is not to escape. You are not here to escape from form. Meditation is wonderful, but it is not to just go, woo, yay, life is wonderful. I feel so good. That's not what we're here to do. Yes, wonderful, feel good. But you might as well be taking drugs because you are here to experience, to learn, to be an incarnation. So become fully incarnate, not just partially, not just like, I'm not sure I'll dip my toe today. Become fully incarnate. Because when you do that, you bring down the freedom and the power and the essence of your Godhead into these forms. You are the link to that higher power, which can release and redeem the forms that are trapped. So to be fully incarnate means to be fully embodied as the enlightened wisdom that you are. So yes, you need to find enlightenment. Yes, you need to evolve your mind and develop refined forms of thought and awareness and intelligence. But you also have to develop a vehicle which will carry it forward in a right way, in a respectful way that honors the divinity that you are. So mental knowledge is not enough. You also need a heart knowledge. You need a body knowledge. You need to integrate those. Remember I talked about initiation. Well, humanity, as we're evolving out of the astral into the mental, a lot of us have already begun developing mental consciousness. I mean, look at academia. We have some very mental people who are able to set aside their emotions, set aside their physical desires. But it's also time for us to begin integrating, to begin working rather power over, but power with, for the feminine to marry the masculine, for body and mind to work together, for matter to marry spirit. This is where it's at. This is the seventh ray, the Aquarian age, where synthesis occurs. How can we do this, though? What does this path of embodiment mean for us as disciples and initiates? It means that once we have developed a strong enough mental polarization, we must go back down into the body, the emotions, and personality, and free them from their old paradigms. We think about the paradigms that we have where, women in the kitchen, or the slaves, or there's all these old paradigms. We see nature being literally raped for our values. Stop raping your body as a mind. I know that sounds harsh, but really, be more loving. Work with yourself. Christ, too, after his death, he descended into hell, into the places of intense suffering. And it was only after he went into hell that he could be resurrected and enter with a glorified body. In the same way, we must go down as consciousness into the depths of our suffering. We have to go down into the places of ourselves that are in darkness, that are not loved, to the places in ourselves that we have abandoned on our path of discipleship and on our path of evolution, because there are parts of you that are abandoned. There are parts of you that are aching right now and saying, love me, God, love me. Those parts of yourselves, you are God. You can love them. That is in your power. Rather than saying, nope, can't handle it. I cannot stay with this suffering. You as Mahat, as mother yourself. Stay with your suffering in your body, in your minds and emotions, the suffering in your families, in your nations. Each nation has its own karma. My nation, the US, has a lot of karma that I'm not proud of. Our ecosystems. We have all of this karma and suffering and things. Stay with it. Work with it. Don't give up yet. Don't abandon it, because you're so close. You're so close. And it is when you are fully present, when you are fully here, that you have the power to change things. If you're disembodied, if you're thinking, not today, I'm gonna, focus on feeling good about myself, you're not going to see how to change the suffering. You're not going to know what to do. So you have to stay in touch. It's painful. It's not easy. But with trust, the power comes. The love comes. When you have that connection to your higher self, and you trust that implicitly, and you surrender to that, that is when the power of love comes through. And you can change the forms as Mahat, as part of her. You can shift your awareness, your thought forms, into something that frees them, into something that is refined. So you are like a compost bin. You are taking the shit of what humanity has done, and you are processing it, and you are creating wonderful soil, so that way new things can grow. And that is what we are. We are changing the forms, freeing them, so that way their inherent fertility, their richness, can give birth to new things. So, it is only when we are embodied and enlightened, when we bring together these two paths, that the inherent divinity that we are can emerge. And that's what's wanting to come through you. The God in you is saying, come on, stop being so distracted, focus. You have this life, you have this moment. Let me out. He wants to come out. So, when you can evermore become fully more incarnate, and it takes time as you become more incarnate, when spirit and matter can fully infuse and merge within us, that marriage, that sacred marriage, that is when Fohat, before it's evermore coming together, trying to come together. Imagine what happens when Fohat is in one space, one atom. It explodes with life, with power, with energy, with radiance. That, I think, is what happened with the glorification of Christ. That his body literally became radiant with power. That is when the Shekinah glory when the presence of God emerges from the matter, the material of your being, we then are no longer God in emergence, but God incarnate, Emmanuel. We become the Messiah. We talk about the returning one that we're looking for. You're it, in my opinion. Stop looking outside yourself. The Quakers say, keep within. And when they say, look here or look there is Christ, go not forth, for Christ is within you. And those who try to turn your mind away from the teaching inside you are opposed to Christ. For the measure is within, and the light of God is within, and the pearl of wisdom is within you, though hidden. Thus, Mahat, Mary, gives birth to Christ, the Savior of the world. So we come full cycle again. We find that we are a trinity. We are Aleia, the monad, seeking to come into emergence as God. We are Mahat, the one giving birth to the Son, giving birth to life, perfecting the forms, even though it's painful. We are also Christ. We are also the one who can radically change the forms, free them, shift consciousness, move on in evolution. And our task is to fully inhabit and identify with all three aspects of yourself. So yes, work on your personality, your planet, and work on your soul. Build up your connection to your soul. And maybe one day you can also connect with your monad. I know that seems like a long way away, but there are the three aspects of yourself. And as you meditate and you live and you are fully incarnate, it will come, I promise. As our planet as well assumes her role as Theotokos, as she evolves the 7 hierarchies and is perfecting this radiance in the forms, we find that perhaps our planet, perhaps our solar system is here not just to be incarnate, but to seed life, to spread life across the universe. And it is from that life that the cosmic avatar, the cosmic savior, is born. Because remember, in context, we have the whole cosmos, the whole universe. And Aleia and Mahat, the two polarities are coming together. And they're going to give birth to a cosmic avatar, a cosmic sun. And so that Christ, that is what we are helping create and emerge today. The entire cosmos of matter becomes sacredized, and the entire kingdom of spirit is made manifest. That's where we're going. Then we find that we are no longer coming home. We don't need to go on pilgrimages. We don't need to have the hero's quest anymore, because we have become home. We have literally, our bodies, our beings, the light, and all matter has become the home. It has completed its cycle. And of course, then there'll be a whole nother cycle where things start all over again. So that brings me to the Mantram of life. And for me, I love using this in meditation because it connects to that life principle in all of us. There is no soul. Your soul's going to burn up one day. Your monad and your personality are trying to come together. Your soul is just the intermediary. One day, at initiation, it'll explode, and there'll just be God and you and God, you as God. There is no soul. There is no time. There is no space. There is only life. One life, and this life I am. My will is for all my lesser selves to know me at the core, at their core, as the essence, the beginning, and the end of their existence. It is thus, as the one life I live, I live. Are you alive today? I am feeling pretty sick, but I am so alive. Be alive. Whatever is drawing you, whatever's hurting you, it means you're alive. It means you're having an experience, a part of this amazing love story. You're part of it. So, yes, you might be hurting or sick or feel tired or it's just dealing with people. But that is part of it. So, do it as well with some awareness. Do it well. Do it alive as you are. Thank you. I did it really fast.
Wow. I am truly humbled. I really am. And Jennifer has kindly agreed to talk to us more personally if you want to ask questions. That's if you can get your minds back together again.
Sorry, I went through it rather fast.
But, this is so much from the heart, and yet it's so deep. And this is what I love about Jennifer, that she has such a depth of knowledge, yet she speaks truly from the heart, from the spirit, and it's so moving, to me anyway. I know I can see many of you are moved by it. So, is there any questions? Would someone like to make a comment? Or yes, Christian.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I just wonder, how do you perceive money? Because the world is so obsessed with it, and how do you see a resolution about it?
Well, that's one of those forms that needs to be redeemed, so to speak, that because it's been trapped. I mean, if you think of the sacral center, the sex, the money, all of that power, that is what has been abused. And, as we've had to put that aside in our pursuit to become strong enough to know how to deal with it properly. But as we become more mature as humans and as individuals, we will have to go back and learn how to deal with money the right way. We have to take that old form and refine it. And so right relationship is the key word there. What is the right relationship with money? How can it serve soul and spirit rather than being something that's used to escape, so to speak? So, does that answer your question? Good question.
Anybody else, please? Yes, a lady in the centre. Do the right.
Do stand up, you'll fall back. Jennifer, when you were introduced, we heard that you came from a traditional Christian, I think it was Baptist background, which my limited knowledge is that it's quite a powerful kind of belief, and your father was a minister.
Yes.
You left to follow your own spiritual path. Has it caused you a problem in your conflict with your family, or has your father been able to accept it? Because I've had a similar detachment in mine. I just wondered if you had, if you'd like to say something about it.
My mother left when I was 7, and my father's bipolar, so he was going insane, and I lived alone with him. I did not see people for a long time. When I was 13, I started going to high school, and that's when I started, actually realizing, hang on, this is not normal for people to act like this. So it was when I was 15. Mine were extreme circumstances, yes, but first of all, because of how my father behaved, it was not safe for me to associate with him anymore. But then, yes, when I started following, I went into paganism and druidry and things like that. And I was public about it. I had it online and told him about it and things. I got hate mail and all sorts of things, and I haven't talked to him since I was 15, 16, when I actually left, when I left the house.
I understand.
And that side of his family has only just started talking to me again. But every time they send me a letter, it's like, you're going to hell. You're dying, you're going to hell, and you need to get right with God, come back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're in hell already. You're also in heaven, but
Self-created then.
yeah, so.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yes, Clemens. I think it's Clemens, is it Clemens?
Yes. Hello. Can I ask you about the other side of the sacred marriage?
Yes.
You said Mahat is the great goddess who gives birth to the male principle. What's the name of that male principle? You said Christ.
Oh, Christ.
Or what was the other name?
Elia.
Not Maya. You didn't say Maya. No, you said Alea. How do you
Alea.
spell that?
Alaya. I think it's Elia.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right.
American.
So that is the upward. That is the Shakti triangle facing upwards,
Yes.
pointing upwards.
Yes.
And
American.
Alaya also equating with the Christ. Is that right?
No, not quite, because Elia is the father.
Elia is father.
Yeah.
So where does the Christ principle fit in?
So
He's the son, so I'm not sure. It wouldn't be Fohat.
it's a bit awkward because I used this term Alea some months ago, and then Julie, my wife, questioned it and said, "Where the heck did you get that from?" And I said, "Well, surely it's in all the books, isn't it?" So she spent 3 days looking for it, couldn't find it, because all the Theosophical books just use the first, second, and third logos. They do refer to Mahat, they do refer to Fohat, but they never give the name Alea. They just say the first logos. And so, but I think Jennifer is quite correct. That is the father, and Mahat is the mother, Fohat is the son.
The son.
And Fohat, Christ is Fohat redeemed, as it were, as the Kundalini rises and returns back on the evolving life forms. So, but it is all mixed up in symbology, and you just take the path you want. There's no right way in those kind of terminology. So.
Oh, thank you. That was perfect.
Yes, Erica, Monica.
Okay.
This isn't giving you amplification, it's putting it on the recording so that when
Yes,
the recording comes
Jennifer.
back, we know what
Jennifer is your name. Thank you for your wonderful speech. It was really coming from your heart, and this is really beautiful. I just would like to say that Alaya, HPB mentions about Alaya in the secret doctrine, and it's a feminine principle, and it's a feminine name. So if you go and you look into the secret doctrine, you will find it. But this is just a small detail. Your lecture was wonderful.
Well, I feel like if he's the indissoluble one,
Yeah.
there is neither male nor female.
Yeah,
simply.
yeah,
It is
no.
all one.
Yeah, but Alaya is a Sanskrit feminine
Right.
name. Yeah,
Okay.
and
Good to
it's
know.
related to feminine principle. But it's,
I
as
like
I
that
said,
even
it's just a detail.
Yes,
Thank you.
This is part of the problem. When I looked it up, I also found that, but I also found that it was used in so many different contexts. It depends who's saying it, in what context they're saying it, with regards to what system they're using it, and it's very hard to say it is this or it is that. But yes, it's the trouble with labels in Theosophy. It's terrible.
Any labels.
Thank you anyway, Erica.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Anyone else?
Okay, well,
Thank you.
so just remains first again to thank Jennifer for struggling through with this terrible cold she's got and giving us such a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Thank you all.
And
Very good
we've got
audience.
some announcement if you'll just remain seated for a little